So far we've covered why we should share our faith, because Jesus asked us to, and this is why the church exists. Next, we talked about the kerygma, that basic story of who Jesus is, what he's done for us, and why we should follow him. After that, we talked about developing your own story, being able to share with other people what God has done for you. Now that we know everything that we should say, what should we do? Learn to listen. The next step in evangelization is all about helping people move from one threshold to another in terms of becoming disciples. Sherry Waddell has done great work popularizing these thresholds that everybody has to cross through before they become a full-fledged disciple of Jesus Christ. Our job in sharing the faith is to help recognize where people are, and then, as authentic friends, walk with them from one threshold to another. The first threshold is trust. After that, curiosity, then openness, seeking, and full-fledged discipleship. We're going to talk about trust in this video. This comes through listening. It also comes through authentically loving the person, loving them for who they are today, and not for who you want them to be. Think of those relationships that you were in where you knew that somebody wanted you to change, or they wanted you to be different, or perhaps you were trying to get somebody else to change. There's something in you that says, that's not right. And that's true. We shouldn't try to make somebody change for our sake. It's okay to love them as they are right now. That's not to say that we don't want ourselves and everybody else to grow in virtue and draw closer to the Lord. But authentic discipleship and building trust means that we have to start loving the person. A big part of this is listening to them and to their story. There's a great saying that Sherry Waddell has, never accept a label for a story. And I want to share with you an experience I had recently. I was in the barber shop and I was able to go get my first haircut in weeks. And there was a new person in there and I didn't get to go to my regular barber, and I was actually a little irritated by that. Because we're friends, we like catching up, we like talking, but she had been overbooked, and so I went to the new guy. So I sit down in the chair, he starts cutting my hair, we're making small talk like you do when you're getting to know a barber or a hairdresser for the first time. Then he asks me, what do I do? This is always fun for me because I work for the Catholic Church, so I get to say, I work for the Catholic Church. And I just let it sit there and see, what are they going to say? Well, he came back and basically said he has no purpose for organized religion. He had gone to church as a child, but he had had bad experiences and decided he didn't need to participate in an organized religion in order to be close to God. Wow, he threw down the gauntlet. Was he saying that I'm wasting my time and I shouldn't do my job, or that nobody should do their job and we should all just go pray to God under a tree? I could defend. I could come back right at him and say, well, here's what Thomas Aquinas says about this. Now, I love the angelic doctor, but I knew that wasn't the right approach. I decided to listen. So I asked him, sounds like you had some pretty bad experiences in church growing up. I just let it sit there. He thought about it for a moment and said, you know, I grew up in a rough part of town, and I had family members who, one day, they were involved in something bad, and the next, they were a minister, running their own church, and it seemed like they were just moving from one hustle to the next, looking for an opportunity to make money and take advantage of people. I realized that he didn't dislike organized religion. He disliked hypocrisy, sinfulness, and we should all dislike that as well. We continued talking, and the conversation drifted away from organized religion to sports and politics and all sorts of other things. I didn't really think any more of it and realized, okay, I had an opportunity, I shared, I listened, and I affirmed. On his own, he came back later, basically apologizing for his critique of my involvement in organized religion. I remember specifically he said, what you're doing is good. We need people like you doing that. So even though this man doesn't feel comfortable attending church, he still likes for people to be involved in church and to work for God. Now, had I been combative and tried to argue with him and convince him that he really needed to attend church, he probably would have put up a stone wall and said, no, forget about it. I know the type of person I'm talking to. But instead, I listened, which wasn't easy for me because I had answers to all his objections. I left that conversation with more trust than when I started. That's how we need to befriend people, listening to them, helping them feel comfortable sharing their story with us. As we move through the thresholds of discipleship, people will begin to be more and more open to who God is and what He has in store for their life. So our challenge, our action steps for this next video is to identify 3 to 5 people in your life with whom you can have a more authentic friendship. Not that you can necessarily tell about Jesus right now, but just that you can love for who they are. Next, pray and ask God to provide you more opportunities to share your faith, even if it's not with those 3 to 5 people. For them, your job is just to love them, because that's what Christians do too. Go make disciples.